Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of This Week in Eorzea, the topical news show where we talk about everything Final Fantasy XIV. With me is the amazing, lovely, and talented Pyra, as always.
Hello, friends. Hello, Davey. Happy Monday.
I hope you're having a good one. Yeah, this is a...
We're hanging in there.
We're hanging in there. This is a patch Monday.
This is a patch Monday. Patch 7.01 coming at you tomorrow.
Yeah, let's jump right into the news. So yeah, that is landing Pacific time at about 11 o'clock tonight. What is in this patch? What are people expecting to see?
Biggest thing behind me. If we can see it.
In case you weren't excited or anything, yeah.
In case you don't know me, raiding my heart out. Arcadian normal raid tier drops tomorrow, which is probably the biggest thing that we will see out of patch point 7.01, with, of course, Savage coming in a couple weeks after that.
Awesome. Okay, and what else do we got? We got some job changes coming down?
Yeah, so last week we got a bunch of job refinements and adjustments that are coming out. Viper, Black Mage, Astro, Monk, tanks in general, Samurai and Red Mage, and Pictomancer will be affected starting tomorrow and also bleeding into patch 7.05. Nothing huge, but a lot of kind of refinements and just adjustments to kind of help blend some of the feedback that's come through of like issues and potential issues. So got a lot of little things coming up.
Awesome. Okay, hello everyone in chat. Yeah, so the big question is, are you going to be ground floor when this drops? Are you going to be right there in these raids?
I will not do what I did on early access, which is like wake up at 4 a.m. to get in. However, I will be getting in probably by 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow, going right into normal raids. Trying to do all of them myself. I'll probably farm a little bit, not go too hard in the paint. And then this week with all of my static days, my static few days that we have normally, we will be going into practice and try to learn some mechanics before Savage comes out.
Now, this is always the fun time because literally everyone is on the same page. You're all learning from the very beginning. But there are also like lockouts and stuff now, right? Like there's a limit to how much you can actually take away from doing these raids at the beginning.
Yes, absolutely. So typical, if you're new to the raiding scene, we get 4 per kind of section of the expansion. We get 12 in total, but this is going to be the Arcadian 1 through 4. Every week, one for a little while it's still current, 1 through 4, you can only get 1 piece of gear per week. There is a lockout so that once you get a piece of gear, you can no longer get anything until the following Tuesday. So if you are somebody that's going into this, if you're a casual, it's kind of good to just roll on whatever. But if you're prepping for raid, it's probably good to check out what the gear has in store first, what gear might be good for your best in slot, and then that way you can try to be a little bit more intentional on what you're rolling on.
Because I mean, there are multiple pieces. Like I think it's 4 chest piece for a chest piece, right?
Yeah, it's 4 for a chest, and then it kind of accessories usually only require 1.
Mm-hmm.
Feet and hands usually require 2, and then I believe pants are also another 4.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be a couple of weeks in progress before you get anywhere close to a full set of gear. Certainly after Savage drops in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks from tomorrow. Yeah, that's all we get in between.
That's fine. It's more than enough time.
Oh yeah. I've already seen so many friends and fellow content creators that like going into World first, and they're like foaming at the mouth, like ready to get through the gates. So I'm like, okay. I don't think more than 2 weeks would be appropriate because some people might go crazy.
Right. No, it's like the anticipation leading up to Christmas. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. So, what's going on for the Visa debit problems? Now, there's been an announcement of a fix.
Yes. So this has been going on since like beginning of May. We've had issues with Visa debit card holders, users that like people just wouldn't pay unless they kind of like rerouted through what was it? Rerouted through like Amazon or something like that.
Oh, there we go.
I'm trying to remember the exact date, but we now have an official fixed date. I believe it's the 23rd. Without looking at the date in front of me, I believe it is July 23rd. The issue should be, keyword should be, completely resolved. So that is their follow-up to that. There will be a maintenance period on the Final Fantasy XIV online services, so we'll probably have to stay tuned for what that exactly looks like. But after that, hopefully everything should be fixed.
Awesome. So now this was exclusively for people who use the Visa debit version of the card. Now, this is, I guess, a personal question, but a lot of sites are iffy as to whether or not they accept Visa debit. Like, that's been kind of a problem with that card kind of across the internet. Some sites accept it, some don't. Is it a huge faux pas that these accounts have been, facing this issue for so long? Like, is this something a large company should have been able to rectify sooner, or shouldn't have been a problem at all?
I feel like it's something that probably should have been fixed sooner, especially just considering how big of a company Square Enix is. However, I don't know the technical details behind what the issue was. I do kind of find it a little funny, and it's just funny speculation, nothing actually serious, but just how they were like, oh yes, our partner, Amazon, you can use Amazon Pay in order to use your debit card. And like, of course, I don't think that that's the real reason why issues were happening, but it is funny where it's like, hey, look at Amazon, our partner, you can use your pay through them to, it's kind of like,
Yeah, no, okay, that's a good point. I do feel bad for people whose account has kind of been in limbo. In particular, I know of some larger content creators who have been like, okay, well, this is my livelihood. Like, how do I get around this? But I think it was just poor timing also with the changes to the account system where your address had to match your payment method. And it was just a set of unfortunate circumstances all around, really. That, and I think the MOG station itself is a very archaic system and site. It's not as bad as Play Online. Like, for anyone who's from the Final Fantasy XI era, like, Play Online was crazy. And even if you want to download and play Final Fantasy XI now, like, you're in for some heartache. But it's still not up to par with other large MMOs, in my opinion.
Square Enix too, like, I will have to say, and I understand that we had issues with the pre-order for Dawntrail just because people were flooding the website.
Mm-hmm.
But even their whole kind of online website I found to be a bit archaic too. And I always laugh that Square Enix sometimes, I'm just like, I want to give you my money. Like, I'm trying to give you my money. Please update things and make it less janky. I'm trying to just fork you over money sometimes. I need you to be compliant.
Yeah, no, and trying to explain to maybe like Warpig, who is not as computer savvy about the two different registration codes, like, oh no, that was your registration code for the pre-launch, and this is your registration code for the actual game, and how to put them both in, and yeah.
I saw some people actually have that same issue when Dawntrail, what do we have, like a week or so where you had to put your code in, or they would like lock you from even gaining extra EXP past level 90. And so like some of the people were like in FC chat like or Discord like, "Hey guys, why can't I level past level 93?" And we're like, "Oh no, friend, you have to go find your code." They don't make it super intuitive sometimes, for sure.
No, there seems to be like a minimum bar for player intelligence. You have to be at least this smart to play the game, yeah.
1 brain cell per person allowed.
Oh my word. Yeah, so what is this about Lala's riding Rogadin? So I saw this in the points of news we would go over, and then I'm like, okay, I have to figure out what this is first. So Yoshi P did an interview in front of kind of a number of French media outlets, and they talked about a toggle where you can allow your character to be rideable. Like, how much digging should we go into this? Like, this is sounding like a very strange idea.
I think the strangest part is just because same thing. I've been looking at some of the Reddit translations of the articles, and it's the phrasing. I'm like, do we writable? I don't think mountable would have been any better by any stretch of the imagination. If nothing else, kind of like Yoshi had mentioned before, he is trying to make sure that everyone consents. So I love that. We can love a good. You know, any way I phrase it's not going to sound right.
Right? Yeah. All right.
Good consensual mounting between Lalafels and Rogadin.
I think in general, it's looking at unique ways to make interactive emotes, I suppose, like to involve multiple characters in a
consensual mounting.
Okay, well, this is a bad idea. Okay.
One thing on a serious note, I think it opens up something we've like wanted before, which is like the high five. You do kind of have a high five emote, but to make it actually where you could like interact with a player and have it be like a real high five, like I'm ready for that. Like if they allow this emote into the game, like maybe they will do more of these kind of interactive with friends style things. So it is it's a funny subject, but it's also exciting if they're exploring the possibilities.
No, absolutely, because there are some emotes now where it's kind of a missed opportunity in terms of, you know, Lala and Ro height distance. Yeah.
Poor Lalafels.
There were a bunch of other topics that were mentioned in this French media interview. So I will post the link to some translations below. I know Mr. Happy also did a video on this, and I believe, did you do a video on this, or?
No, I have not yet.
Okay.
I meant to.
Yeah, we meant to.
But it hasn't happened.
Okay. Well, look forward to it. I just volunteered you. No, but if you're interested in this sort of thing, definitely take a look. It's just kind of one of those circumstances where Yoshi he's a big tease. He will skirt around things and hint that maybe it might be coming, but maybe not, and be really indecisive. And a lot of it you can't really take as fact. But if you're interested in speculation and what he has to say about things potentially being added to the game, then I will link that in the description below.
Absolutely. The one thing I will warn, and I know I did watch a little bit of Mr. Happy's video for it, and I agree with him, it is an unofficial translation, so do not take it to heart as it's probably a correct translation, or at least like I would say 99% correct. However, it is not an officially translated article, so just be aware of that. Sometimes things in the past have gotten kind of like skewed or taken a little bit out of context because of the non-official translation. So just keep that in mind too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're translating to completely different languages like Japanese into French, into English.
Yeah. And terms that are like unique, like, you know, the terms specific just to Final Fantasy or to the gaming world. Like, I think even that just skews it just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, but increased rewards going forward in content, specifically from 7.1 to 7.3. Now, this is something he has legitimately mentioned before in official sources. Now they've got the assets. They're really going to put people on making these rewards something that is incredibly desirable in game and worth the amount of effort that you put in to earn them. So I was one of those people who have been Omni everything for a lot of expansions now, and I was not really impressed with my headpiece for getting Omni in Endwalker. So at least its amount this time, but what are your feelings on it?
I feel the same way. Getting everything max level, especially if you're someone who, has a job and responsibilities outside of the game, like it's a big feat. And I felt the same way with I got the 90 like little head thing, and I'm like, well, if nothing else, at least Sierra can wear it. If I ever would, probably not. But yeah, I mean, like I don't think we need an overclutter of rewards to the point where it doesn't feel meaningful. However, I do see how like certain milestone achievements, like it would be nice to have more incentive. Like I even remember the veteran rewards back in A Realm Reborn. It meant something.
What?
And now it's like, cool, they haven't updated anything in like what, 3 expansions? Like it just yeah.
I was gonna say probably 7 years. Yeah.
And it
at
just
least.
like, I like how they changed the system a little bit. However, they just stopped updating it. And so it like, you kind of wish sometimes, like, I still want people who just started playing the game this year, for instance, to like get the same experience as me as a veteran player. However, sometimes it's like, it's nice like getting some items in the game that it's like, hey, you've done the work or you've been committed. Like here's something. So I hope they kind of look at those types of instances as well and like try to have a little bit more incentive reward behind it.
Well, I mean, think about the legacy tattoo. I mean, and how much that means to 1.0 players, and how these accounts are so sought after, and people are tattooing the legacy mark if they just missed it. Like, it's a really big deal. It feels like a big deal.
Absolutely, and I've seen some people literally only come on because of that tattoo, or like try to sell their account, which is wild for the tattoo. And it's like, a lot of people put, us included, I would speak for both of us, where it's like you put hours and hours and months and years and days into this game. And like, I don't think that everything needs to be kind of like oversaturated with like rewards and prizes and incentives, but kind of like having some things to make you feel more like not just appreciated, but like to make the hard work feel worth it, I think is never a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. I mean, it's been almost 10 years now since, the 2.0 players started. Why not a reward for those people who are continuing to play? Why not something similar for 2.0 joiners, and then something for 3.0 joiners once it's been 10 years for them? Like, let's maybe celebrate these mini legacies, because 10 years is a long time to stick with one game, like, honestly.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I'm that salty person that wishes we had the tattoo or something, because I started in 2.5 and I'm like, where's my little special thing? I've been here forever. And it's less of even wanting something to like give an advantage and more of just like the appreciation. Like, yeah, I've done this for 9.5 years, almost 10 years. You know what I mean? Just like a little extra something.
Yeah, exactly. So people know we're important.
Exactly. It's like the mentor crown. I need it. It's not because I'm like trying to help every sprout that I see, even though I do try to help as many sprouts as I see, but I want my crown.
And so, yeah, I mean, apparently there was mentioned like more Gil Sync stuff and potentially even Gil titles. Would you buy a title with Gil? Or do you think it would be kind of like a legend title that you see dying in World of Darkness? Like, do you think that it would kind of be more a symbol of like a real money trading than actually talent in the game?
As an ultimate and perfect legend, I feel attacked from when I die in easy content because I decided to look at my phone as someone was texting me. I feel attacked. No, on a serious note though, like I don't know about titles for me because let's just face it, when you see somebody with the golden mounts from 50 mil gil or however much some of them cost, they're just flexing their cash. You don't know where they got their cash from. I don't want to know, but they're just flexing. So like, I guess I don't mind it. I don't know if I'd be like, oh, I need to spend my gil on a title, especially because for me, I'm a raider, so like that feels more of an achievement, like the blood, sweat, and tears that went into that. I guess if people have nothing to do with their money, like, sure, go buy the fancy title that says you're rich so I can feel more poor.
That's a fair point. Oh, man. The recommencement of housing auto demolition has happened. So if you do not want your house put up for sale, you have to log in now at least once every 30 days and step into your house. I mean, granted, if you're not, they will send you an email and a warning and everything, but disregarding that warning will lead to the demolition of your house. There's a lot of kind of conversation around whether or not this is something they should do. Obviously, people have circumstances come up in their lives that will keep them away from a computer for 30 days that are completely outside of their control. But I mean, at the same time, with housing being as in demand as it is it fair that housing should be occupied indefinitely to people who aren't playing the game? So whether you like it or don't, it has started up again. So do you have any thoughts on it in particular, or?
I've sympathized for those who can't get on within that 30-day period because I've seen and had friends with the same thing, either financial hardship or life circumstances that they just cannot physically have an active subscription or get into the game. The one thing, however, I will say is I do see houses that get auto demoed just because they're abandoned. And it is tough to gauge whether, some people just abandon them and they still log in and they keep their house. But with the market being so scarce, I do understand that they try to really preserve the housing for people who are active because, there is such a finite amount of housing. I know you've mentioned Dynamis, there are plots and housing and everything, but I know Primal, it's like dead. Like you can't get a house, or if there is a plot, it is incredibly hard to actually get the plot. So I think, I guess it makes sense for now. I am very glad that the dev team or the ops team for Square Enix, they're very good at when big life things happen or circumstances outside of their control but that they're aware of. They do usually try to put a pause on this. Like Dawntrail potential login issues, they put a pause. When COVID first came out, they put a pause. So like I do think they are fair to kind of trying to keep aware of major kind of life circumstances and trying to accommodate people as much as they can. So
yeah, no, and they've been really good about it. Just anytime there's an earthquake or any sort of disaster in which any portion of the gaming population can't get to a computer, they're really good about pressing that button. So, I mean,
absolutely.
So here's what you need to do if you have a house and you really want to keep it: is you have to designate a backup player. So that if you get in the hospital, injured, wounded, put in a coma, whatever, you've got someone who will log in and keep your house.
Yes.
Because an appeal to Square Enix probably isn't going to be enough. So designate your your backup. No, but I mean, in all honesty, like if these houses hit the market in a server that's super populated, there's going to be like hundreds of lottery entries, right? Like,
oh, absolutely. Especially if it's a prime plot, like a large, a medium, or like, you know, like a beachfront mist house, like something that's kind of like a prime plot of land. It's gonna go so quick. You know, people are gonna have to do the lottery system, but there are going to be probably hundreds of applicants.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, you got to talk about this last one. I don't even know, man. Big Sippin'? Is that Mountain Dew guy? Okay.
So, if you've been a part of Twitter, especially, I know it's not exclusive to Twitter. Mountain Dew Gaming, as we all know, is having a big partnership with Square Enix and Final Fantasy XIV right now. I'm actually trying to look it up. So, Mountain Dew Gaming, of course, we know there's the codes and all the stuff between the game. Well, there's been this Big Sippin' who has been in the game going through parts of the story for like since Dawntrail, I think. And even the other day, July 13th, Big Sippin' had a wedding, and it was all Mountain Dew, like, bright neon metallic green themed. It was the whole thing. And now that Big Sippin' is done with his in-game and Twitch adventures, there is a stream team application going around for the world first race. This is going to be a one-day kind of thing, but they are trying to get people to join the Mountain Dew Gaming Big Sippin' team for a day to go into Arcadian Savage in a couple weeks. So I'm saying it and it doesn't sound real. It sounds like I'm just making up some BS story. But here we are, marketing in 2024, friends. So if you are interested in hanging out with Big Sippin' and trying to raid, go fill out the form. We'll put it below and try to enter the world first race with Big Sippin'.
I can't even. Okay.
Me neither. I'm saying it. I'm like, this sounds chaotic. This sounds like honestly nonsense.
Yeah. So if you need a static for Savage, Mountain Dew's got you back. Just hit up Big Sippin'.
Hit up Big Sippin'. And even the promotional says, I want you for, like, the whole, like,
American,
like, I want you for Race to World first. So that's the plan. Oh, gosh. Speaking of that, too, with the world first race, I know this isn't something I had in my notes, I just thought of it now. Mog Talk, which is a hosted kind of podcast and channel from Frosty. He is also, as well as promoting the Big Sippin' Google form to fill out, because his world race for charity event is also presented by Mountain Dew right now. And there are a bunch of applications on his Twitter page for if you want to enter the world first race, and if you want to be a presenter / kind of commentator host for the world first race, applications are now open. So keep an eye out for that if you would like to be part of Big Sippin' or other world first racers.
I mean, I love that people are trying to make this exciting, but honestly, isn't it just 18 hours straight of people dying over and over again to the exact same mechanics? Like, it's not like you're edge of your seat just watching. It's just
This is like I used to be like, it's like NASCAR, but like, I don't know, in the past year, you kind of get invested because it's a lot of the same groups that go in. And I think at the beginning, it's a lot of just face roll, face roll, face roll. But then like when you see one group make it and they're ahead of the next, it's like a big sporting event, I think. And they've turned the world first race like stream into like literally like a sporting event, like an esports fully, like there's even like an official esports team coming in and sponsoring like a group to go in. Like they're actually like trying to push it to like a bigger level. So I'm all for it because I'm like, you know what, any bigger part of the gaming universe that can come out of 14 is just usually a good thing for the most part. So it's a bit goofy, but I'm for it. I'm here for it.
okay. I will be watching from the sidelines. There is no attempt to participate this time around, so
That's more than fair. I will never probably do a world first race myself as a racer. I love raiding, but I will be cheering on my friends as they take on their 18+ hour days.
good luck with that.
Yes.
Okay. Is that all the news? That might be all the news. Okay. Let's start at the top then with our hot topic. Okay, this is another one. This was a question asked by a cosplayer at the Japan Expo just within the last day or two. Asking again about NPC relationships with the Warrior of Light. So canonic in-game dates / relationships / involved friendships with NPCs. And this time, Yoshi P didn't just laugh it off. He mentioned potentially getting something like that in-game, because he gets this question often enough, but releasing it in kind of stages, maybe finding a way to implement it if people are okay with changes in the story. Like if your favorite character, your BFF, the one you go on dates on, just suddenly disappears from the game because of MSQ. Are you going to be okay with that? So they might be testing the waters on this, considering the popularity of romanceable options in other large games like Baldur's Gate 3. Do we want to say like sex sells right now? I mean, obviously they would never go to that point, but even the Heavensward closest thing we got to a date really is quite memorable for a lot of people. Do you think you would enjoy that?
I don't think it's part of my journey. I am not a role. Trying to say that as nicely as possible.
Diplomatically.
I'm historically not good with like role play. Like I've had friends be like, "Oh, play a D&D if you like role play," and I'm like, nah. So I don't think that's part of my journey. However, I do like the idea, less about the romantically. That's not interesting to me personally. But I have played like Stardew Valley, and they have like that system where you can like befriend certain people.
Yeah.
I do kind of like that, and I would be curious to see if that were potentially an option in the future, like how that may change parts of the story. Like I don't think it would change parts of the story, but maybe parts of the dialogue. It would be really cool to maybe see that become a thing, like because let's take like someone like Grahatia. A lot of people look at Graha in a romantic way. However, like I've also had some friends, I'll just say like kind of like straight hetero friends be like, "Oh, he just feels like a little brother to me." Like that's the vibe he's giving off, not like the simping for the Warrior of Light kind of vibe. So it is really cool to see like how everyone interprets the NPCs in their own way, and it could be really fun. It could be really cool. I'm not going to be doing the romantic stuff, so none of y'all can expect that from me.
Now, is this just because your favorite NPC wouldn't be an option? Like, that wouldn't happen to have anything to do with it, would it?
I think you're attacking me too many times this episode, and I don't like it. I'm in this photo, and I don't like it.
So yeah, I mean, if that's something you're interested in, that could be on the horizon. Like the last couple of expansions, they've done a bit of playing with entering unique dialogues, depending on your class, depending on your race, depending on what you have leveled or what you are currently as. And Dawntrail, it seems, has a lot of this type of dialogue in it. So maybe they are moving in sort of that direction where the game can start responding to you more personally.
Yeah. I mean, we already see it with, isn't it with Dragoon? Like certain dialogue, you'll be called like the Azure Dragoon or something like that. So I think it's something that they could probably, maybe not easily, but you know, that they could definitely weave into the game with minimal removal of like immersion from the regular MSQ.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so, I mean, yeah, it's a hot topic. It's a hot topic. A lot of people are really excited for it. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Just make sure you understand that Yoshi P was very clear on the fact that these relationships wouldn't supersede their plans for the main scenario. So if your Warrior of Light, or if your Warrior of Light happens to be involved with someone who disappears and goes back to their home planet, like that's kind of it. That's
we can't save them just because you want them to be saved.
Yeah. Okay, but that does lead into our community check-in. Community check.
I think it kind of perfectly leads into the community check. Who's standing who?
Absolutely. So we did ask this on our Discord. Everyone was free to comment and chime in. We didn't get much. We didn't get much. I think I finally decided on Eorzea. But it was so hard to choose. It was so hard to choose. You
explain yourself too. Do you have an explanation of why Eorzea? Pretend this is the Bachelorette, and so you have to kind of like give your rose to Eorzea. Why him?
You know, I was kind of on the fence up until Endwalker, where we kind of got a look beneath the mask. And we really got to find his humanity, and it was kind of a tipping point in his personal story. Obviously, I'm trying to be as vague as possible in case anyone hasn't gotten to that part yet, but you know, he just seems a little awkward, a little out of touch, a little old-fashioned, doesn't fit in. No one quite understands his motives or the words coming out of his mouth. I resonate with that. I think it's my soulmate there.
That's more than fair. That's precious. And yeah, I don't think many people understand some of the words coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, and then you chimed in with yours.
Yes, I will always love Emmett Selk for many reasons. His sense of style and grace and attitude. He cares a lot. You know, I feel like I'm writing his like dating profile. Cares a lot. Would do anything for his loved one.
7-time widower. Yeah.
Grandson's not the greatest, but you know, the rest of his family may be okay. No, I've always loved his story arc, and like kind of in a similar way to like you talking about Eorzea, like I love when you kind of got through the shell of like his villainy and like kind of below that the meaningfulness behind it and like the level of like care, and then of course like his witty humor, like that has always just been like he's always been such a fun character for me. And so like definitely love Emmett. And every time they've I won't spoil too much of the story if anybody it hasn't been through Endwalker or Shadowbringers, but let's just say they can keep bringing him back, you know. I won't be mad. I would kind of be mad because it won't fit the story, but you know, flashbacks.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I mean, the Echo exists for a reason, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we got it for a reason. Gotta use it.
Okay, so our community check-in for this week, we're going to have some polls up. So we're going to try to have them on YouTube, on Twitter, on Discord. Which team for Dawntrail would you have wanted to be on if you could have chosen? So would you have been with Wooklamot? Or would you have been with Koana? Kona? Koana?
Kona? Baha Blastra Hatia.
I mean, it divided up the Scions. Maybe it could have been an opportunity for the Warrior of Light to decide who they would have rather been with. And if the choice was up to you, what would you have chosen?
I love this topic, especially because I feel like it's a very appropriate topic, no matter what part of the MSQ you are through or not through. As long as you are caught up with pre-Dawntrail, you can kind of make your assumptions and vote.
There you go. There might be some other options on there too. I'm afraid to put some of the other teams up there, which
leads to the next thing.
Which leads to the next thing, which is what aren't we talking about? I mean, if we're talking about all of this, what aren't we talking about? This segment is for something that has been all over the place in news, Final Fantasy, stuff, so much.
It's everywhere, man.
Anyone wants a Knight's Tale? Yeah. Pain, lots of pain. It's been done to death. We don't want to talk about it anymore, so we're going to say a couple of words, put it to bed, and then never speak of it again, maybe. Which is Bakool Ja Ja. Bakool Ja Ja. I know we just talked about this last week, and I was like, hey, this is really cool. It's a side of Final Fantasy we don't get to see too much of. It's positive, it's funny, it's quirky. And then Yoshi P got word of it and got to react, and we're like, okay, cool. Now he sees that we're us, and now it's just dominating my timeline, and it's pretty much everywhere, and it's not going away as quickly as I thought it would go away. So my final word is Bakool Ja Ja, you were fun. I appreciate what you did for us in our time of need, but it's time to put your clothes back on. Byron, what about you?
Y'all need Jesus out there or something. Y'all need something. I have seen too much not safe for work Bakool Ja Ja content that I have not asked for, flooding my timeline, and Bakool Ja Ja's baby girl, you might be paying for my next therapy visit, so thank you very much. And no, on a serious note though, it's been hilarious seeing the weird and twisted route of the next new heartthrob, I guess, if you want to call them that. However, I'm kind of done seeing a little more of Bakool than I wanted to.
Let's calm down and put it back and yeah, move on. Next.
Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me.
Oh my god. Oh, we got tip of the week. I decided to do a couple more inventory ones because, man, I am really worried about everyone's inventory right now. Mine was completely emptied out prior to Dawntrail launching and is now a disaster again. So I've got a couple inventory tips for you. The first one is make sure you're storing new items in your inventory. So there is a checkbox in your character configuration where you can have new pieces of armor, like quest rewards, go into your inventory instead of your armor chest. If you have not been doing this already, you need to start doing this now, because that's going to save you the heartache of not being able to complete quests because your armory chest is full. It's going to make it easier to find those items, to maybe turn them in or desynth them. Like, it is going to make your life so much easier. Like, I turned it off years and years ago and never ever looked back. So is that something you've been utilizing?
You know, I'm glad that you put this tip, because I didn't realize that was a thing until you mentioned it. Quite honestly,
Wow.
I just let my armory chest fill up and cry later. So I will definitely be
Oh,
turning this on after when I get
yes.
to the game next, because
Yes.
when you can't switch classes because your gear is too full, it's very sad.
Yeah, no, definitely a lifesaver. And pair it with another option they just recently added, which was storing your items in the last available inventory slot. So this means, like, you'll have your inventory and then space and then the new items at the very end. So anything you got recently, you'll be able to see exactly where it is. You won't have to search for it at all. It won't filter it like in the onesies and twosies in between the stuff you already have. If there's holes in your inventory, it'll just all go to the very last page. So with those two options on, it should be much easier to find everything you're looking for.
That's a fantastic tip too, especially getting into more of the new content. It is so easy for your whole inventory to get just like congested and way too much. So I think that is a really good tip, especially going into a lot of the gathering, crafting, new dungeons, new content. I think that'll be very helpful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like all these coffers, and you're kind of opening them up and looking at the gear, and everything gets everywhere. Like, I feel like my bags have absolutely exploded. So anything that makes that a little bit easier is definitely a tip worth sharing. So
Absolutely.
okay. And I think we already touched on this, but important dates coming up. Well, tonight/tomorrow is one of those important dates.
Yeah. Tonight we get just a little maintenance period, just 4 to 5 hours. I think it's only 4 hours actually, of all worlds maintenance. It'll be probably when most people are asleep if you're in North America, so you shouldn't have to worry about it. But all worlds maintenance in preparation for patch 7.01. As we mentioned earlier, Arcadian normal will be dropping tomorrow, and as well some job changes, as we mentioned earlier as well.
Absolutely. And then that puts us 2 weeks out from the Savage and the new maps. And I think it's going to be a pretty exciting month, honestly. I mean, through the end of July, we're still pretty full for content. So
At some point too, and it's not announced yet, I could see it happening tomorrow and I could see it happening in 2 weeks, but data center travel should be opening back up either with 7.01 or 7.05. They haven't announced yet which, but with the server stability that we've had with Dawntrail like login queues, I could see them opening the gates as soon as tomorrow for sure. It's not announced yet, so that's just my opinion, but I feel like with how smooth everything's been running, we could see it as soon as tomorrow, where you can travel wherever again.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And it doesn't mean that if things happen that they couldn't turn it off again. But I mean, with the amount of people who have come over to Dynamis, with maybe a lot of raiders who have decided to kind of make it their temporary home due to like reduced congestion and everything, it could just work. It could just work.
Yeah. I definitely think with how smooth everything's been and how kind of consistent, like, I do see it getting turned back on very easily. I think the biggest issue was just mitigating login queues and login issues. I haven't really seen much of that at all this whole expansion so far. So we're in pretty good territory.
Yep. No, absolutely. Okay. Well, I think that is everything we wrote down.
I think so. I know myself, I'm very excited for Arcadian Normal tomorrow. I'm excited for new fights, new music, because usually Soken does really good with the raid music, new bosses. So that is my next week is going to be very filled with normal raids and tip guides for raiding and everything in between.
Absolutely. And I should be getting through the MSQ hopefully by the end of next week. For anyone who doesn't know, I've been going super slow to make sure my community doesn't fall behind, so they get to see my reactions. And boy, howdy, have there been some reactions. So there are things that have caught me off guard. Stay tuned, because as soon as I'm done the story, as soon as we give everyone a chance, more towards the end of the month, we will definitely be doing some episodes that kind of touch a bit more on that story and our overall impressions. So stay tuned for that. I am super excited. This news program will continue every Monday, same time, same channel. We look forward to doing it. We're hoping that you as the viewers are getting line. Are getting value out of our content. Yes, this is how you can tell it is live. So if you have any comments, if you have any feedback at all, please let us know in the comments below. We will happily respond to you. Let us know if there's any segments that you prefer, or if there's anything else you'd like to see. We are definitely ears open and feet on the ground with this one. Do you have any closing remarks, or
Nope.
just
I think that sounds great. Same as Debbie said, if you have any questions, if you want us to touch upon anything, we cover a large spectrum of the game, so there's no question too big or small. We can definitely try to help you out.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in game.
Bye, friends.
Bye.